Welcome everyone to Marylhurst University's webinar where we will review the Art Therapy Counseling Graduate Degree Program. During today's presentation, you will hear from Marylhurst Art Therapy Counseling Program Director, Mary Andrews. We're also joined by Jackie Begeman, our admissions counselor for the program. And my name is Liz Lehman. I'm a Marylhurst staff representative, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. So if you joined our webinar hosted last month, you'll notice a change to our agenda today. We're going to begin our conversation by taking a close look at the newly revised admission requirements for the Art Therapy Counseling Program, specifically calling attention to what has changed. Prerequisites for the program, the admissions process, as well as financial investment information, that will all be reviewed, but at the end of today's agenda. We also want to be sure we reserve time to answer your questions. I know that's the reason many of you have joined us today. Perhaps our discussion will also spark additional questions you have about the program. Go ahead and reserve those questions until the second half of the presentation. You may enter those into the comment box of this GoToWebinar, and we will address them one by one before we conclude. We're also recording today's webinar, so no need to scribble down all of the content you see on today's screen. You will receive a copy in the coming days, and we'll have the opportunity to reference what's presented here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a first look at the newly revised admission requirements. To apply to Marylhurst University, we ask all prospective students to complete an online application and submit a $50 non-refundable application fee. However, you're our guest today during this webinar, and we'd like to extend a $50 credit to you for that application fee, so go ahead and check that off your list. We also ask for official transcripts from prior universities that you've attended, and momentarily we'll jump into the art and psychology prerequisites that are required. I'm going to turn now, though, to our Program Director for Art Therapy Counseling, Mary Andrews, and ask Mary to describe the remainder of the admission requirements and particularly how that process has been simplified.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being a part of this webinar. So one thing that is changing is we are allowing people to apply with either their GRE or the Miller Analogy Test, which provides a little bit more options. And the art and psychology prerequisites are shifted slightly. Instead, we now have a little bit more flexibility in that you need general psychology, abnormal psychology, human development, and theories of personality or research methods. And those are 18 credit hours. And we encourage you to try to get some upper level psychology classes for those abnormal human development, theories of personality, or research methods. In addition to that, we have decreased the number of human service hours to a minimum of 100. Obviously, we will give more preference to someone who has more experience with human service hours, but you can indicate that experience on your resume and talk about it in your essay.
So what are you looking for in the essay? Should the essay be something that's already produced in a student's professional experience, or are they authoring an essay specifically for admittance into the program?
What we are looking for is your view of what the practice of art therapy is about, and tie in some of your work-related experiences and career development. Specifically saying why you've chosen to pursue your degree as, in art therapy and why this career is important to you. I think it's important to include your education shortly after graduation, and thinking about where you want to be, what your goals are, and also reflecting on your strengths and weaknesses in regards to becoming a graduate student and then a practitioner.
And Mary, you mentioned already some of the prerequisites for the program. Do these requirements differ from other art therapy counseling programs, and do they all need to be completed before someone can submit an application?
That's a great question. These are very standard in regards to most art therapy programs, or all that are approved by the American Art Therapy Association have the same requirements of the drawing, painting, and sculpture. In addition to that, many art therapy programs require prerequisites in psychology as indicated by the Art Therapy Credentials Board, which determines all of the structure for art therapy programs across the country. So in that regard, it's very similar, and we look for you to have, like I said, 4 upper division courses of abnormal psychology, human development, and theories of personality, or research methods.
And as I mentioned at the start of our presentation today, we're joined by Jackie Begeman, an admissions counselor here at Merrillhurst. And Jackie, would you describe to prospective students what they can expect when they begin the application portal? So once they've considered these application requirements and want to go ahead and submit themselves for consideration, what would that experience be like for them?
So initially, you would log in, create your login through submitting your email. Many of you already have received inquiry packets from us. So use that same email that you used when you submitted your inquiry, and you'll receive an automatic email response that will have your secure portal login credentials, and that will then move you to our application portal, and you'll fill in all of the specifics about you, your academic history, your employment history, which would include your human services experience. You can upload your essay, and you'll also be able to put in the names and email addresses for the people giving your recommendations. And then at the end, you'll submit your application. You do not have to have your essay or all of your schools entered in there in order to submit your application. You can log back in and add those later. It is important to submit your application as soon as possible so that your recommenders receive their link to the recommendation form. We want to give them as much time as possible to get that completed. Everybody is busy these days, so respecting their time is much appreciated.
I also want to add that the prerequisites, if you have them done prior to applying, that's great. Some people have a plan to complete them by the end of the summer before classes start, and it's possible that you can be conditionally accepted with a plan of taking the classes that you're missing. So that has been an option for some people. But we really need to know specifically what classes you're missing and plan about where you're going to take them before classes start in the fall.
Great, thank you. So once an applicant starts their application, they assemble all of the necessary requirements. Are there dates that you'd recommend they be aware of? What timing recommendations would you give to them as they start to submit themselves for consideration?
So we have our deadline of January 31st. I would encourage people to complete their application materials as soon as possible. As soon as an application file is complete, the admissions office will deliver that to Mary, and that way the faculty can begin the review process. And we have selected February 11th as our interview date. So once a completed application is submitted to Mary, and they can review it and start inviting people to the interview.
And for that February 11th date, Mary, do you want to talk a little bit about how someone might prepare for that day?
Sure. So Essentially, the day will involve a little bit of an orientation, meeting with some students and faculty. So you really want to be prepared to meet individually with a faculty member for about 30 minutes and answer a list of questions, really identifying your strengths and your skills and your interests in why you want to pursue art therapy counseling. And we're really looking for strong candidates to put forth that their best efforts in that interview day. And again, reiterating what Jackie said, the sooner you can get your application in, you will be given first chance at being able to come in for that February 11th interview if your packet that you submit is complete and has all of the pieces that we're looking for.
So we've reviewed the application requirements that have been newly released, the admissions process. If you have specific questions about those items, feel free to save them and again enter them into the comment box and we'd be happy to address them at the end. Let's now turn our attention to discuss what you can expect as a student in the art therapy counseling program. And I'll let Mary go ahead and introduce the program and some of the critical learning outcomes that our students receive.
So this program is very clinically focused. You will graduate and be able to sit for the LPC exam in Oregon. And you're going to get a clear understanding of all the different theoretical applications of art therapy and practice in a variety of different clinical settings. We have relationships with numerous organizations and agencies all over Portland and outside of Portland, working with inpatient psychiatric clients, working in therapeutic day schools, working in retirement centers, domestic violence centers. We really have a wide choice of different kinds of experiences that you can get. We also really are focused on social justice and helping people to think about ways to empower their clients to make changes in what they can do in a client-centered way in treating their symptoms within the system that they're functioning in and trying to overcome and be offered help and support through creating art and building relationship in a person-centered perspective with the therapist. So given that we have been a program that's been approved since 1991, we have a long history of relationships with people here in the community, and we have the support of the American Art Therapy Association, which allows you a quicker path towards getting your registration as an art therapist. The program length is 90 credits, and you can choose to do full-time in a 2-year track or part-time in a 3-year track. Many people who have families or are working, they choose to kind of spread it out over 3 years and find it a little bit more manageable. But then there are others who are really ready to get it done and they just want to get the focus for 2 years and get their degree and move on. So we offer both of those options.
Curriculum information can also be viewed at merrillhurst.edu/arttherapy. If you want to take a look at the curriculum associated with both of those tracks, that's there for your viewing.
So another benefit is that we have small class sizes. The ratio is for the clinically focused classes where you're getting supervision, I believe is 8 to 1. The support of their faculty and staff is immeasurable. We have really talented staff and faculty who are authors in the field and are currently seeing clients and able to apply the practical knowledge of their work in the classroom. In addition to this, we are situated in the art building, which allows the students to have access to the studio spaces, and I think that's a great benefit to our program. So the other piece is there's dual credentialing. Like I said, you can sit for the LPC exam, and we are working towards a license to be passed in the state of Oregon probably within this year. And those who graduate can have a quicker path to getting a license by getting their ATR. And in getting your ATR, you only need 1,000 hours of client contact postmasters with 100 hours of supervision, 50 of which with an ATR. And with that, the state of Oregon, hopefully by the time you're here, will also grant you an LAT license, which allows you to work with a credential before you have your LPC. And the majority of the students get jobs within the year of graduating. Many of them actually are employed by the places that they are providing their internship in. And like I said, there's a variety of different placements that we have. In the first year, you're doing 4 hours a week at a site that's called fieldwork, and then the second placement that you have is called practicum, and you do 24 hours a week of clinical work with clients.
So of course, when you're considering a graduate degree, you need to factor in the financial investment associated with that. Merrillhurst works hard to provide financial resources to you, and I'm going to ask Jackie to talk a little bit about our pricing structure and the way Merrillhurst works to avoid any additional fees for our students.
Yes, so our current tuition rate for this year, 2016-17, excuse me, is $628 per credit, and that totals just over $56,000 for the 90 credits of the program. We have very few fees. We don't have building fees. We don't have parking fees. Really, most students will see just the cost of their books outside of tuition.
Many prospective students also ask about financial aid when they're applying for graduate school, and Merrillhurst is committed to the financial literacy of our students and offers a financial aid department to support you in this aspect of your education. Jackie, do you want to talk a little bit about the loans and scholarships, payback options that are available?
Yes, so your FAFSA is your application for any Merrillhurst specific scholarships that we have available. We also, on our financial aid pages on our website, have a whole host of outside scholarship opportunities. Those aren't affiliated with Merrillhurst directly, so they will have different application deadlines and requirements and those kinds of things. So I do encourage everyone to look at that, as well as the Art Therapy Association website. They have a very robust student section and include scholarship information there as well. We do have tuition payment plans that you can, if that is something that also would benefit you.
I think also it's worth mentioning the connection that our faculty members have in the community. They often hear about outside scholarship opportunities and will bring those to our student population's attention. So our website can be a resource for you there as well. So with that, I know many of you joined today's webinar to have specific questions answered, or perhaps our discussion today raised a particular question for you as well. Go ahead now and type your questions into the comment box, and we'll do our best to address them. If you have a question that is specific to your circumstance, your personal situation, that's just fine to go ahead and still enter that. Just know we may not address that for the entire group of viewers today, but we will follow up with you individually at the conclusion of this presentation. So let's take a look at what questions are coming in. So we have one listener that would like to know what kind of degrees we typically accept into the art therapy program.
We have seen folks come in that know directly that this is the program for them, and they work accordingly and get an art degree or a psychology degree and encompass their art and their psychology prerequisites within that. We also have a lot of people who come to us that discover art therapy after they've graduated, and so they may have a degree in something entirely different and then go back to school to pick up the prerequisites and then enter the program after that.
Okay. Someone else is interested in the painting prerequisites. Is there an opportunity to specialize in watercolor, or do we recommend classes? Recommend classes in a variety of paint mediums?
I would suggest that this person would take classes in oil and acrylic. It's important that you show proficiency in a variety of different kinds of art making. So if you're able to take additional classes in other kinds of painting, that would be useful.
And what type of GRE score are we looking for?
That's a great question. We are looking at the big picture. I don't know if we have a specific range that we can tell you. We're weighing all of the different aspects of the application, from the resume, the essay, the human service, the portfolio, how you present in individually when you're meeting with the faculty member. So it's balanced and weighed against everything else. So I can't really give you an exact number. If you feel like you did really poorly on it, I know that you are able to retake it multiple times, and that's not going to be looked at like negatively if you try again. So just try to do the best that you can.
What qualities do you see in your current student population that lead them to be successful in the program?
I think someone who's really passionate about helping other people and is able to connect with their interest in really utilizing art to help people move past wherever they are in their lives. And also someone who has rigor and academic astuteness, in the sense that they are really committed to producing quality work and developing themselves as good writers, and being able to be analytical and identify and narrow in on what is the problem, and thinking creatively about how that can be resolved through creative means.
And would a statistics course satisfy some of the research methods, prerequisites?
Possibly. I think we would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. It's hard to say without being able to see the full picture with all the other classes that are in the transcript.
And what happens if someone's interested to know what happens if they miss the February 11th interview deadline?
I would suggest that they get it in quickly. I get a sense from the number of inquiries that we've had in this program that the available slots are going to fill very quickly.
Great, thank you. We have several other questions coming in, and they look to be specific in nature, so we'll go ahead and address those after the webinar. Again, you will receive a copy of this presentation, so watch for that email in the coming days. Before we close, we did also want to provide you with access to a few additional resources that may be of interest. So opportunities to view the Merrillhurst website. You can again reference some of our admissions information and financial aid resources. But on behalf of Mary and Jackie, we're just so appreciative of you taking the time to join us today, and we look forward to working with you as a student at Merrillhurst. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.